Our country has been at war for more than a decade. Over that time, we've learned a great deal about invisible injuries with life-changing consequences, about stigma in this very unique culture that keeps some veterans from seeking the needed help, and about disturbing trends in suicide and homelessness. We worried about our veterans' transitions to college and to the workforce, their access to appropriate medical care, and the effect that all of this has had on their families. We focused on cumulative stress in caregivers and first responders. As a former Navy psychologist who deployed to Iraq in 2004 with the Marine Corps Surgical Company, I lived part of this experience firsthand, overwhelmed by chaos and casualties during a really brutal time in Iraq. I was also inspired there by extraordinary courage, loyalty, and friendship during that same time. It was this juxtaposition of the best and worst in the human experience that struck me so deeply as a clinician, as a mother and wife, as an American. Rule number 2 was written as therapy, never intended to be published, with all truthfulness. It was also written as a chronicle for my children who were babies when I left, so that maybe someday they would understand why we had to go. It was written with the hope that it might serve as the beginning of a conversation. It might give even one person permission to feel it all: the grief, guilt, and sorrow, the humor, excitement, and true love that some say is unique to combat. And then to feel able to share his or her story too. I hoped it might illuminate the unique challenges of medical personnel in combat, specifically mental health providers, and that it might give a voice to female veterans, specifically mothers. It worked. This memoir has paved the way to a 6-year adventure after I left active duty, including opportunities to engage as a speaker with over 200 audiences now, veterans, caregivers, community leaders. It's allowed, I think, these audiences to really hear one another's stories, given them an outlet through which to share their confusion, their desire to help, feelings of isolation, and most importantly, triumph after combat. This is the technique of narrative psychology, the power of storytelling as a force for healing after pain and trauma. In the Navy, we used to call them sea stories, and since the very beginning, they've connected us, normalized our experiences, and given us permission to feel whatever we're feeling. Whatever name your community gives it, narrative psychology's been at work for as long as people have suffered difficult experiences. The power of dissemination for this technique occurs when groups come together and then feel empowered after listening to other people's stories to share their own. Stigma is almost always immediately reduced as a result of feeling accepted, regardless of what your own story might entail. The strategy is actually now being expanded into a couple of exciting directions. Working with its student veteran organization, I'm thrilled to be at San Diego State University now and working with them in their efforts to ease the transition of their student veterans, who are very large in number, as they move into their lives as college students. I am currently teaching a course there, which I named The Psychological Experience of Combat. Based in narrative psychology, both in the curriculum and interspersed with my students in the class, the course was championed by the psychology department there and the joint doctoral program in clinical psychology at San Diego State and UCSD. It's truly been embraced, actually, by the scientific and student communities there, and I think we're starting to make some real efforts in bridging our two communities of veterans and our university. The use of storytelling, whether expressed through the written word, education at institutions of higher learning, or outreach through public forums, it works beautifully with reducing stigma for military populations. But I think it's not just veterans we're talking about here. This is universal in its power, appeal, and capacity for healing. We as human beings, we understand this technique. It's natural, it's comforting, and everyone knows how to do it. You don't need to be a mental health provider. So ladies and gentlemen, either collectively or one person at a time, please trust me when I tell you, you can give our veterans permission to suffer emotional injuries after war, to seek treatment, and to move on to meaningful and rewarding lives. And to let them know as a very wise person once told me upon my return from Iraq, that although change in me was inevitable, he said, it's okay if you're not okay. Knowing that, we can pave the way together to grow after trauma, to change, to adapt and recover as a country of proud Americans who are not so different after all. Thank you.